The sound of metal clanged against the stone as the gates swung open, welcoming the lost souls within. Marcus stepped inside first, his heart racing, a mix of dread and disbelief engulfing him. With every echoing footstep, memories of a life lived in freedom faded into the void behind him. He glanced at Lena, whose eyes betrayed a flicker of hope. As they moved deeper into the prison's belly, fear gripped them both. Fear of the unknown, fear of isolation, fear of their own choices. Around them, the harsh reality began to sink in. The cold walls, the distant shouts of guards, the murmurs of other new arrivals. Each voice shared a story etched in pain, a cacophony of vulnerable emotions. This was not just a place of punishment. It was a threshold into a world beyond redemption. As they stood together, their silent resolve began to forge an unbreakable bond. Would hope survive behind these bars? As the heavy doors of the prison swung shut behind them, Marcus and Lena found themselves enveloped in a disorienting silence, punctuated only by the distant sounds of life inside. Marcus recalled the vibrant colors of his art studio, where he once lost himself in creation, imagining a world far from this place. A crime of passion had brought him here, yet the flickering embers of hope still smoldered within his heart. Meanwhile, Lena's thoughts drifted back to her classroom, where she inspired young minds to dream. Now, the coldness of steel bars replaced the laughter of children. As they shared their stories in hushed tones, the weight of their past lives bore down on them, yet an unspoken bond began to form. They were not just inmates. They were voices seeking understanding in a world that had forgotten them. Together, amidst their despair, they found a spark of resilience that would guide them through the shadows. The reality of daily prison life begins to wrap around Marcus and Lena, like the cold metal bars that confine them. Sounds of metal trays clanging against tables intertwine with the shuffling of feet, and distant commands from guards echoing through the corridors. Each new day feels like an eternity, and the initial thrill of survival gives way to a grueling routine. Marcus catches glimpses of sunlight filtering through barred windows, but its warmth is overshadowed by a creeping despair. Lena tucks away her yearning for the classroom as she navigates whispered conversations about clandestine education. The inmates collectively wrestle with a mix of hope and hopelessness, forming unspoken agreements to endure together. Despite the physical confinement, they find moments of solace in shared glances and quiet camaraderie, slowly realizing that survival stretches beyond mere existence. It's about forging connections amidst the stark reality of their new home. As days slip into a monotonous rhythm, Marcus begins to find solace in his sketches, converting raw emotions into visual narratives on the cold concrete walls. With each stroke of his pencil, he delves deeper into the landscapes of his mind, painting vivid dreams of freedom and redemption. The sound of scratching lead against the rough surface resonates like a heartbeat, echoing the life that still pulses within him. Amid the confines of the prison, he discovers a fragment of liberation, a fleeting escape through colors and shapes. Lena, observing Marcus's passion, feels inspired and seeks ways to ignite hope beyond her own confines. In hushed conversations, she encourages fellow inmates to explore their creativity, suggesting they reclaim their identities through art. The whispers of creativity slowly fill the air, transforming the oppressive silence into a sanctuary of expression. In this stark reality, they find not just survival, but the beginnings of a shared dream, a vision of life beyond bars. Lena stood in the hushed corner of the day room, her heart racing as she gathered a small group of inmates around her. Their faces, etched with doubt and weariness, softened as she spoke with quiet conviction about the power of words. She proposed clandestine literacy classes, her voice a whispered promise of possibility. Amid the hum of nearby conversations and the clanking of metal trays, Lena shared her vision, igniting flickers of hope in their eyes. The inmates listened intently, drawn not just by the allure of education, but by the connection blossoming between them. Each lesson became an escape, a shared secret that united them against the harsh reality of their confinement. The soft rustle of paper and the scratch of pencils punctuated the air as ideas flowed. In that dimly lit space, they began to reclaim their voices, finding strength in knowledge and solidarity. A powerful catalyst for change behind the prison bars. As days turned into weeks, a sense of community began to blossom among the inmates. The initial fear and isolation faded, replaced by shared laughter and whispered confidences. Marcus and Lena found themselves at the heart of this emerging bond, their shared experiences creating a tapestry of connection. During yard time, inmates clustered together, sharing stories that revealed their vulnerabilities and dreams. They spoke of lost loves, missed opportunities, and the lives they once had, a mosaic painted with shades of regret and hope. In the flickering light of their shared humanity, they began to support one another, offering solace through their struggles. Marcus sketched faces filled with laughter and pain on the walls of his cell, while Lena encouraged her peers to articulate their stories. The healing power of connection became palpable, weaving a fragile yet resilient fabric that prepared them for the challenges to come, reminding them they were more than their pasts. The atmosphere shifts palpably as whispers of Rico's arrival echo through the damp corridors of the prison. The once unified camaraderie among inmates begins to fray under the weight of a looming threat. Rumors swirl like smoke, his name invoking a blend of fear and tension that hangs heavy. Marcus and Lena sense the change. Their laughter and shared stories grow cautious, overshadowed by an uncertainty that tightens around their community. Late at night, inmates sit in low-lit corners, their breath steadying as they talk in hushed tones about Rico's reputation, a power grab that promises violence and division. Old alliances could crumble. Loyalty is questioned, and the fragile bonds they formed in the depths of despair now face a new test. As the shadows deepen, Marcus and Lena cling to hope, determined not to succumb to the fear Rico cultivates, searching for ways to unite their fellow inmates before the darkness closes in. As night falls over the prison, the stark fluorescent lights flicker, casting long shadows on the cold concrete walls. Inmates gather, their whispers weaving a tapestry of stories that echo the harsh realities of their lives. Marcus sits among them, sketchbook in hand, the fading light capturing the essence of vulnerability in their voices. Lena encourages those around her to share, creating a safe space where fear gives way to connection. With each story, laughter flickers like a flame, illuminating their shared struggles and dreams. An ex-banker recounts his fall from grace, while a former nurse speaks of healing, both physical and emotional. As tears mix with laughter, a palpable sense of camaraderie forms. In this hallowed moment, the prison's heaviness lifts, replaced by the realization that their pain can fuel strength. The stories shared tonight become threads in a larger narrative of hope, binding these lost souls together behind bars. The atmosphere inside the prison shifts dramatically when Alia, a passionate volunteer, steps into the grim reality of its walls. Her enthusiasm for art and education resonates deeply with the inmates, who are starved for inspiration. As she introduces the Art and Education Initiative, the sounds of skepticism give way to curiosity, igniting a spark that spreads like wildfire. Lena watches as Marcus, once withdrawn, begins to engage, sketching furiously as Alia encourages inmates to express themselves creatively. Art can be a weapon, she proclaims, a means to reclaim your voice. The tepid air thickens with anticipation as inmates gather in makeshift classrooms, whispering fragments of their untold stories, while their hands shake with a mixture of fear and hope. In this newfound sanctuary, laughter and creativity bloom amidst the cold steel and monotony, hinting at the transformative power of dreams unleashed from within. As the weeks unfold in the creative haze of the prison, Marcus takes charge of mural projects that splatter color against the drab walls. With each stroke of the brush, he channels his emotions, sharing his journey and pain with fellow inmates who gather around, inspired by his passion. Lena, in her makeshift classroom, encourages inmates to embrace their stories through poetry and prose, inviting them to explore their identities beyond their crimes. Together, they foster a sense of collaboration. Laughter erupts as one inmate comically mimics the prison guards, while another adds vibrant colors to a mural that now depicts freedom, dreams, and the world beyond bars. Each mural, each poem becomes a symbol of their resilience and a testament to their collective spirit. In this space of creativity, they reclaim their narratives, weaving threads of hope amidst the harsh reality of confinement. The atmosphere shifts. For the first time, shadows of despair are replaced by the light of possibility. As the days turned into weeks within the prison's cold walls, a vibrant energy began to blossom among the inmates. Laughter punctuated the air, echoing off the concrete as Marcus and Lena's initiatives took root. Marcus found himself surrounded by fellow inmates, sketching murals filled with colors and dreams, remnants of the outside world brought to life on drab walls. Lena's clandestine literacy classes flourished, their whispers turning into a chorus of hope, as men previously silenced by despair began to read and write, crafting their narratives anew. Stories of resilience filled the common areas, transforming the atmosphere from bleak to buoyant. Inmates dared to dream beyond their sentences, sharing ambitions of reunification with families, careers they longed for, and lives they envisioned once free from bars. This collective spirit ignited aspirations, kindling a fire of possibility that spread warmth through the icy grip of their confinement, reinforcing their commitment to each other and the futures they could reclaim. The atmosphere in the prison grows increasingly tense, shadows lingering longer as whispers of Rico's rising power circulate among the inmates. Marcus and Lena glance at each other with concern. They see the change in their peers, the way fear tightens smiles and quickens hearts. Rumors of Rico's plans to exert control over the art program circulate, his followers casting watchful eyes on those who dare to challenge him. In a fragile circle of trust, inmates convene to strategize, some wanting to stand up against the intimidation, others urging caution. Their laughter, once a melody of hope, now feels fragile, hanging by a thread as they navigate this new labyrinth of loyalty and fear. Marcus sketches quickly on his cell wall, capturing the chaos swirling in their minds, a prisoner's perplexity rendered in art. He knows the tides are shifting, and the bonds forged in shared stories will be tested in ways they never anticipated. The tension in the air was palpable as Rico's influence reached a boiling point. Whispers spread like wildfire, igniting old grievances and brewing unrest among the inmates. The normal rhythm of daily life shattered in an instant when a spontaneous confrontation erupted in the yard, fueled by emotions and unprocessed fury. Marcus felt his heart race as he stood by, frozen, witnessing the chaos unfold, a tangled mass of bodies, shouts growing louder than the usual clang of metal bars. Lena's face turned pale as she grasped the implications of this violence, years of progress and connection precariously hanging by a thread. In the midst of the turmoil, storytelling felt like an irrelevant echo. Yet in that chaos, a flicker of solidarity emerged, as inmates instinctively formed protective circles around each other, united against the dark shadows that threatened their fragile hopes. The clash marked a pivotal moment, testing their humanity against a backdrop of despair that could either tear them apart or push them to reclaim their stories.